Good evening, everyone. So we have present a quorum, and we have another member with us online. Mr. Wilsmer, can you hear us? And can we hear you? You're muted, looks like. Mr. Wilsmer, are you with us? Mr. Wilsmer?
If it helps, you may want to know, Tim, that you are muted in Zoom as well. Sometimes I find there's a problem between the hardware mute on a microphone and the software mute in Zoom.
Okay.
I have to remember to hit both.
I'm nowhere near as fancy. I know there's a microphone, I don't know where it is. Don't know how to mute it. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get started, I guess, because we do have a quorum, and anytime you can unmute yourself and just blurt out, "Hey, here I am," please do so. We'd appreciate it. Public comment. Do we have anybody besides you and Mr. Wilson online?
No.
Okay.
We have public access, but
We have public
they don't have any
access.
comment.
They don't, okay. Can you tell if they do?
Well, their hand is not raised.
Okay, very good. So, we're, board discussions. Our first of three, master plan committee composition continued discussion. We have a draft.
You do, and essentially this reflects the things we spoke about last time, reducing planning board and select board to a single member, swapping the library trustees for the housing authority, and upping our at-large membership from 4 to 6. I think that actually gives a nice composition. While a majority of the committee represents currently active folks, it gives a good balance of other folks who aren't active. So you have a lot of institutional knowledge, but you also have the ability to institute a variety of foils to that can ask questions and look at things from a non-entrenched perspective.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but did Mr. Wilsman drop off?
It looks like you did.
Well, we hope you come back. Okay, so the only thing that's changed since we last saw this is in red.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I mean, this is kind of what we talked about last time we spoke about it. I had a conversation with a school committee member, and I'm not sure if they realized that there was already one representative, but, and I don't think they were arguing for two, but they did make a point that half the budget pretty much goes to school committees, so there should be at least one, and I assured them that I was confident there was.
Yeah, and I did, so this draft charge went out to committee chairs. I didn't send it to everybody because I thought that would be annoying.
Okay.
And I sort of left it to the committee chairs to bring it to their individual groups. And it did go out as a draft, so I will confirm tomorrow that once this board has voted, that what they have is the actual composition and charge. I think people may have waited to really get too far into it, especially elected boards, as there was some turnover this past Saturday. So I would expect that we will hear folks come forward in the next few weeks. And our kickoff will be scheduled for June 15th in this room.
Our kickoff with the...
With the consultants coming and starting the public process.
Okay. And we don't have a date that we want to confirm this.
No, I mean, my intent would be to tell folks at their earliest convenience.
Sure.
And hopefully prior to the 15th.
Okay, so that gives us 2 meetings, 1 meeting.
Yeah, and, I would expect the 9 members that are from existing committees by that time, and we may still be filling in some of those 6 at-large seats. And I'll remind the town manager tomorrow that this was adopted and that she can add it to her town manager report, which she does every Tuesday with the select board, that outlines vacant committee positions.
Okay, so you want us to confirm and commit
Correct.
to this
Yeah,
charge?
that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Mr. Wilsmer, I see you're back. Anytime you can, please let us, unmuted.
Yes, yeah, everything's working now.
Excellent, welcome. Do you have availability to the document that we're looking at?
Is this, we're just on the,
Master Plan Committee charge.
yes, I do, yes.
Okay. So, I'm not sure you saw, but we've reduced the Select Board and Planning Board from 2 to 1. We've changed Housing Authority to Lunenburg Library Trustees, and we've gone from 4 to 6 members at large, which is what we discussed at the last time we talked about it.
Yes. Okay, here we go, sorry, yes, I hadn't seen the new one, I do have it in front of me now. Excellent, okay, yeah.
Okay, well, I will open it up for discussion. Anybody have anything to comment, ask?
I had a few notes, going through them quickly. And some of them are, a couple of them are, if it's worth being a little more clear about things to help the other town departments wrap their head around it.
Absolutely is.
Okay. In the first paragraph, I wonder if it's, and I'm not sure it is, I wonder if it's worth being explicit that this is the actual reason our board exists. Because I think it's entirely possible that people look at it and go, the planning board, they make sure things are in the right zoning and everything, and like, they're not, that they're talking about development. Why are they heading this up? And I didn't know if it'd be worth really saying, because that's our actual job, not to put down the importance of the other work we do.
Sort of just outlining that this is charged in MGL, Chapter 41, 81K. The planning board is carrying out the process as it is the charge that it is created for, something like that.
I am comfy with the formal version. I am comfy with the less formal. This is why planning boards actually exist under the law.
One of our primary charges.
Yeah. Like, this is why they were invented. Adam, I trust you completely on if it's more
That's your
worthwhile.
first mistake.
Well, because I honestly don't know. In town government, we like to throw around per law, blah, this is what we do, and I know that that's often necessary whenever we're doing anything kind of legal-ish, to just say, no, we know what we're doing. I don't know if it matters here, but I can see some people may want to know that, and then, because there are some grognards who probably want to dive deep and go, oh yeah, that is what it says, let me look that up.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of second page, top of the page, where we're talking about 18 months to 2 years, it may just be worth saying 18 to 24
months.
Yeah, keeping the same unit of measurement. That 18 to 24 months may also feel like less time than 2 years to some people.
Yeah, I get that. And it's funny because when I speak it, I say 18 to 24 months.
Yep.
And I put 18 months to 2 years for unknown reasons.
Because you're writing and thinking, and then that's, sorry about that, computer's making noise.
So the development of the master plan is a primary statutory responsibility of the planning board, just as a final sentence in that first paragraph.
Sure.
That sounds good.
I think it's just worth telling people why we're,
why the planning board is in charge of it, and
yeah.
it's not like a select board sort of thing.
Yeah, and that communicates as well that it isn't being handed off by another group to us. This is, the buck stops here for a reason.
Yep.
It may also get in front of any complaints if people are like, well, why?
Yeah.
Because we're late.
And just through my own lack of synapses, I hadn't fully processed that that the members at large are actively appointed by us.
Correct.
Like, I knew that, but I hadn't really thought through the meaning there. And I think that's great, and I thought it might be worth us, once we are done talking about if we like the document the way it is, it's probably worth us strategizing what types of people we may want to fill those roles. We've talked about that a little in terms of, well, we don't really have a spot for an agricultural business owner. That seems important. Should we dictate that? Should it be a member at large? I thought it might be worth us strategizing on that a little, so we collectively maybe know groups or people to reach out to, rather than just waiting to see what comes in.
Sure. The 6 members at large is non-exclusive of any specific we wanted to set on it, whereas a specific would be somewhat exclusive. I don't disagree with your sentiment there. It's just something to think about.
Yeah, and I think you're both correct. And I think if we take what the chair said, where it's at large, so it's non-exclusive, and recognize that you're going to look to pick the 6 individuals who walk through who you feel offer the most value to the process, that's a good rule of thumb. And the way I hear what the vice chair is saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have 9 people from certain modalities, mentalities, and looking at those 6 and saying, what sorts of individuals from what sorts of, whether it's demographics or backgrounds or lived experience or, work sectors, do we think it would be important to potentially have, so that as the planning board or other folks on here are out talking to other people, or people who are sitting at home listening, say, oh, hey, that's me. I fit that category. Maybe I have value. And they want to come forward, rather than thinking it's just someone that everybody knows in town. So I don't know that it's necessarily, I agree, not assigning who you want is good, but also sort of signal boosting some of the ideas and some of the attributes that you might find valuable to balance some of these other things, I think is important for the board to discuss.
That is a more eloquent and thorough description of what I did indeed mean, so thank you, Adam.
Try to be my best.
All right. So to that end, did you have a recommendation or a suggestion?
Not yet.
Okay.
Like, I have vague thoughts, and I want to chew it over a little as we talk, but that's not, I didn't know if we wanted to first look at any other changes to the document itself, so we could put a seal on that and call it good. You're the chair, we can run it however you want.
Oh, well, I mean, this is ultimately a decision between the 4 of us.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we have consensus on the decision that we make.
Yeah.
So Adam has already taken record of the 2 comments that you made, and I, for one, don't have any issue. I think they were both good comments. Amanda, you feel
I
the same?
agree, yep.
Mr. Willsmery, the previous 2, yep? Okay, good. So we're consensus on the 2 corrections,
I have them
changes,
both,
yep. Anybody else on on Mr. Brenner's previous comment, or any other comments, questions, concerns? All right. Well, again, I'm not in disagreement. I just wanted to make the point that it's more exclusive, and as was pointed out, it's more refined, defined as well. So, I had mentioned before, a member of the agricultural community, and by being exclusive, I'm not sure we get one that was what we wanted. I mean, I don't know that we want to stipulate that was a business owner, and if we did, I'm not sure that we'd get a business owner to step up, I guess is what I'm saying.
In that one in particular, I was working from top of the head memory of that discussion without, that was my example.
Sure.
I don't want that to carry, I share the sentiment that I would very much like to see agriculture represented in this group. Because it's certainly my impression that the town values that. I don't want to speak and say, of course people do, because maybe I'm completely off base, but I don't think I am in that case.
If that is the kind of, like, if we're looking to do this by what are the groups of the demographics of people who represent, like, Lunenburg, what do we want to start doing as far as, like, who it is that we're looking for or trying to talk to? Because assumedly, part of this is going to be us, like, going out and recruiting people that we think would be good for it, as we're going to be the people doing the appointing.
Sure, and I mean, to that end as well, do we want to specify a time, like a 10-year resident, or do we want to open it up to have people that have lived here for 1 year setting the course for the next 10? And this is just a question.
I would say you would probably look to have some mixture. Because there's value in people who've been here their whole life. There's value, I mean, and I think that's one of the things that I've seen as a struggle here in town in the time that I've worked and lived here, is there's like epochs. There's the people who've been here for their whole life. There's people who moved here maybe 20 years ago and feel like they've been here for a long time. There's people who came 10 years ago, and there's people who've moved in the last couple of years. And they all have, I don't even want to say competing, just different ideology and thought process and expectation and lived experience. And all of that adds together to people being here for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, people who just bought a house now, they're not going to be able to sell their house in 10 years because the values that they're at and the interest rates. So they're still going to be here. So they have, and I, mostly kind of jest, but they've made an investment now, and that investment is long-term because most people don't buy a house to sell it in 2 years and get out. So I think, and the people who've been here for a long time have seen the town change. They've seen what it was. They've seen where it's gone. And the people who are in the middle have been part of that change and have seen other changes from a different perspective. And I think all of that brings something to what's being done.
Sure.
I think diversity I'd like to see in the members at large. We default a lot in town government, especially in Lunenburg, and I get why, to discussing effectively property owners, people who own a house. We do have renters in town. And we don't have nearly as many rental units as many other communities do. But we do have renters. And I think they may well have a different viewpoint in all sorts of things. And on one hand, I look at it and go, well, a renter is more likely to be transient. There's plenty of transient in the very broad, maybe staying a few years, not decades or many years sense. But there will always be those people. Similarly, I see representation of, effectively, of children via the school board. I see representation of I hate to say the elderly, because that can be a charged words, but of those for whom the Council on Aging would apply. I think we, without being cognizant of it, I think we potentially risk, due to those who become involved, getting a lot of representation of middle-aged people otherwise, and not as much of the younger crowd, unless we're being active about that rather than passive, because kind of people hit that point in their life, they have some kids, they set down roots, and then that's when many start thinking, maybe that's when I'm going to become involved in government. And individual things vary, but I wonder if we want to be thoughtful about younger people in town, because I hear that concern a lot about Lunenburg not necessarily being accessible to younger adults. And I think that's a viewpoint that we may want to make sure is found. And Amanda, I apologize, by the way, because I realize I always look this way when I talk, and that's very rude
No,
of me.
that's okay.
That's why I like sitting down here, because I can't not look at all of you.
So all very good points. And to appease them all, we could leave it just as it is. Right?
Yeah.
And I think perhaps it would, it's easy to appoint people as they come in, but maybe the board looks to collect a group and have them come in as a group and sort of see how that goes.
That would be great, but
And I understand it's a matter of getting a group of people to sort of do that.
Did I understand correctly before that the 15th is when we're supposed to have started like making appointments and putting together the actual committee?
That's when the kickoff meeting will be. So the other committees will be making their own appointments, hopefully between now and then. And I would say your at-large members, you might actually want to wait till after that and hope to maybe stoke some people who come to that meeting into action.
Get some kind of initial momentum to figure
Yeah.
out.
That's cool in this circumstance?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing that says you have to have the committee at any specific point.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. I mistakenly believed that we were on a kind of more significant time crunch.
No, I mean, we'll call it a 24-month process, and really the significant work is really going to kick off in fall. So we'll kick off now, get some visioning done. The consultants will probably start producing some work product through the summer, maybe trying to get some surveys and that kind of stuff going, but it's hard to really dig into any of this stuff in the summer. People are really flaky about their time. They have varying commitments across multiple months. Childcare is always a challenge, and people want to go and play. It's nice. It's, we don't get year-round time to be outside, and people try to take advantage of it.
Will we still, with that timeline, be able to solicit public opinion during next summer? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm just,
I would expect public opinion to be cyclical. There'll be fits of public opinion, there'll be work product, there'll be presentation of some of that work product, additional public input and understanding of what that means and how that might apply and what that might look like going forward, would be the expectation I have in that.
Somewhat iterative and back and forth. One question I have is, we've got appointed members and elected members of town government. And I've noticed that planning, select board are elected, but conservation and I think the only other one is zoning board are appointed.
Correct.
How does I mean, can you speak to the difference between elected and appointed positions? Is there a reason? Is there a rhyme? Is it just how we chose to do it?
You mean on the committee?
I mean, no, I mean in general. I mean,
Why some of them are elected and why some of them are appointed?
would
I
you-
don't think I've ever seen an elected zoning board.
Okay.
Unless it was the select board themselves. The finance committee is also appointed.
Finance committee is appointed?
Yes, it is,
By who?
by the select board.
Oh, that's right.
The Conservation Commission, I don't know that I've ever seen an elected Conservation Commission. I'm not saying that there isn't one. I haven't seen one.
Okay.
They're a regulatory board charged with a specific sort of task, similar to the zoning board. And my experience is they tend to be appointed. Finance Committee is the same thing. They have a very specific technical task of sorts. And I think the idea behind appointing them is ensuring that the folks who get into that role are there for that specific role. And I understand that that's really a nebulous concept, especially where it's a political position, and depending on who's elected on the select board depends on how they evaluate those folks appointed, but I think it's just sort of a check and balance sort of thing, to avoid whatever it might be as far as removing someone from there. Frankly, I've worked with both elected and appointed planning boards, so it's not uncommon for a planning board to be appointed. I worked with a 9-member appointed board in one of my positions.
I did not know that. There we go. I learned something new today.
And I actually worked with a board that went from elected to appointed while I was working with them. That was interesting.
All right, well, thank you for the clarification, and I have no further questions on that.
So I would be looking for a motion to adopt.
I would move to adopt the Town of Lunenburg Master Plan Steering Committee charge as presented tonight with the 2 changes Adam already discussed.
I will second.
Okay. Any further discussion about the motion? We're going to have to do this roll call. All in favor, please say aye. Mr. Brenner?
Aye?
Mrs. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Wilsmer?
Aye.
And aye for myself. Excellent. Thank you for that, Adam, and
You're welcome.
look forward to working with this 15-member new group of people.
And I will just follow that up with a quick update on the consultants. We had our first check-in meeting last Monday, and they are pumping away at getting data. I'm collecting stuff for them. We've created a SharePoint site for them to be able to access that data. They haven't told me it doesn't work, so I'm inferring that it does. They actually came out to town on Wednesday and spent a good 6 or so hours here. We met, we sort of had a quick background on what's sort of happening in town. I had a class I had to attend, and they jumped in their car and pretty much drove all of town for a couple of hours. Then we came and we walked the village district, looked at the schools, some of the town buildings. They took a ton of photographs, asked some very pointed questions about where we were with things, and they set off to the races. We're in the process of getting a location and a schedule for them to interview folks for their services and facilities chapter, as well as other things. So they are moving right along, and they are an energetic bunch.
Super. It's always good to hear.
There's nothing for the other two.
The other two we're going to skip over.
Correct.
Okay. This brings us to minutes approval. I would accept a motion anytime anybody's ready to make one.
I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to make it. I just want to give people, great, okay. I would move to approve the minutes for our May 8th, 2023 meeting, as well as the public hearing for 39 Main Street, also on May 8th, 2023. If I said 2022 last time, I misspoke. My apologies.
I will second.
As potentially amended. Yes. Okay. Any further discussion about the approval of the minutes? All by roll call. Mr. Wellsmer, I'm sorry.
Aye. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Mr. Brenner?
Aye.
Mrs. Reed?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you. We find it better to call the non-present party first. And I forgot the first time, so. Okay, committee reports. Open Space Ad Hoc Committee. Not sure, as we met the last time, basically we had a discussion about a site over on Burridge Street that had recently made an inquiry to the water department about being included in the water district and hopefully getting water there for a potential development. My understanding is that potential development fell through, but the discussion at the open space was to see if there were any ways that we could help the landowners get into some kind of a protection that would alleviate some of their problems with it. The other thing is we had a discussion on the master plan, and I answered some questions with them, and they were very excited. Ms. Lockwood from Parks was chairing that night, and she was also very excited about the Marshall Plan and the stuff there. So, and I did notice the data available under the master planning, and I saw that the open space plan was not in there, but I saw a folder for it that was empty.
Okay.
So I just assumed that the open space plan that we did a few years back is going to be included in
On the website?
it's going to be part of the information that's available to
Yes.
consultants.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
and I assume that there will be at least a few references to that plan in the master plan?
I expect they will probably use a good portion of that plan for the open space chapter.
Okay.
That's usually what happens, is they take the bulk of an accepted open space plan and sort of shift it about to fit it into that box.
Yep. Because anybody who hasn't seen it, our recent open space plan is beautiful. They did an excellent job on it.
Can we find that on the town website, or?
There's a link to a Google Drive that has it, because it's so large, the town website couldn't host it previously.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm game.
Oh,
I got reading material.
Well, it's large partly because there's so much graphic in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plans.
And there's a lot of maps and charts.
It's beautiful.
Oh, be still my heart. Now that's fun reading.
Excellent, excellent. Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee, we did not meet last Monday. Agricultural Commission, we did meet last Thursday, and we're going to meet again on June 1st to plan for our first market on June 4th. My understanding is we have 8 confirmed vendors, and we've still got a handful looking to be confirmed. We certainly will have fresh vegetables available, and that was the brunt of our discussion at the AgCom meeting. Again, the farmer's market is going to start, it'll be every Sunday, coming June 4th through October. Mr. Wilsmer, oh, did you have a question? No?
No, sorry, it just gave me a reaction to the idea of fresh vegetables for a farmer's market.
Oh, super, thank you.
It let
Thank
me
you.
give a little thumbs up, so I did that.
Excellent. Capital planning?
Mr. Allison?
Yes.
One quick
good.
question. What are the hours on the farmer's market?
So they're going to be 10 to 1. We were 10 to 1 3 years ago, we went down to 10 to 12:30, then we went down to 10 to 12 last year, I believe, and now we're back to 10 to 1. We had done a poll, we had 4 options of different hours and days, and that was by far the most popular, was Sundays 10 to 1.
Great, thank you.
Capital Planning Committee,
Has not met.
okay. Economic Development Committee?
Did meet last Thursday. I unfortunately could not be there due to a family conflict, but I was hoping maybe if Adam had some insights from the meeting, because I'm curious as well.
I do.
Lovely, thank you.
Oh, would you like me to share them?
That would be even better.
So it was a brief meeting because Amanda will fill you in on the following meeting. There was a lot of talk about the farmer's market and when it was and who would be there. And if I'm not mistaken, there will be opportunities for people to have half-share booths where they are on A week and B week.
Yes.
So it could be a rotating schedule. There was some talk about how to drive foot traffic through the farmer's market and what things would be beneficial both to the vendors and the community. Things like whether it's musicians, whether it is potentially getting public service organizations to do charitable events. The Boy Scout coat drive was brought up just as a simple example because it's something that happens, and it gets people down there for one thing, and then they open their wallet and they start doing other things while they're there. Then the more pertinent discussion to economic development was the holding of a meet and greet with town officials. So the LBA, Lunenburg Business Association, in conjunction with the Economic Development Committee, are exploring ways in which to demystify public processes to business owners. And some of that is by putting faces to positions and names, whether it is employees or members of boards and commissions, to sort of take the interactions out of the regulatory space and put them into the social space so people can connect with one another on a human level and understand and meet each other and be in a place of recognition that we're all human and we're all coming at this from a different perspective, but all trying to get to the same place, so that at the time that someone needs regulatory assistance or needs regulatory relief, there's an understanding that they're not coming into a faceless person who's just going to pull out the red stamp and reject them. There's a place where they've met on a different level and can have a human conversation that also resolves some of those potential business pitfalls. Their current discussion is revolving around where and when. There was an offer made by a local business to host it and to potentially cater it. And it's a generous offer. I think in talking about it and the capacity of the space, it could potentially be more than half filled by public officials if there's a decent attendance. So there's more discussion happening about how and where and what and those types of things.
The TC Passio's been discussed as a possible...
It hasn't. I think what the hope is that it can be held in a business space, whether it's a restaurant or other type of business space that sort of takes public officials out of public space and creates a more, even playing ground for everyone to sort of just be mixing and mingling. I can certainly bring that back to the folks talking about it. I
No,
think
that makes sense. That does make sense.
and my thought with them was if there was a place where we could do indoor, outdoor, even if the venue were smaller, it would give space for more people to gather. And what I didn't want is, or what I was afraid might happen is, everybody from the town decides to show up and all of a sudden nobody can get in because it's a safety hazard. So,
Wish that happened at town meeting.
take a lot of people to make a safety hazard at town meeting.
Yeah, that's happened before. So, my question, I guess, was Mary Ray Holman in?
Yes, she was.
Okay, excellent.
That was what got the topic of the farmer's market
Very
going.
good, very good. So I expect that she'll have plenty to tell us about that. And yeah, and on my own regard, I would certainly welcome working with any group in town. As far as functions, we were able to work quite nicely together with the Historical Society last year, and I think they might be doing it again this year, holding hours while the market is open, and that worked out really well for them. They gave a bunch of tours, and they sold some raffle tickets, and they had a lot more attendance than they would have. So thank you for that, Adam. Economic, does that round out?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Stormwater Task Force?
Stormwater, we met on the 18th. We got a lot of updates from Public Works. They're talking about their street sweeping project they've been doing. I think he said in April they got 22 miles done.
He said he's hit his 25%.
Yes. So they're kind of ahead of schedule, did he say? A little bit?
He said they're further, he didn't think they'd hit 25% in a month, but that his goal was to get at least 25% swept because they hadn't done that in the previous 5 years. And he's hit 25 and is shooting now for more.
And they've been working on cleaning out the catch basins. He said 91 have been cleared so far, which is, I don't know how many. Did you ever figure out how
I
many
think
we
there's
had?
over 500.
Okay, so,
There's over 500 structures. I don't believe they're all catch basins. They're manholes, drain manholes, catch basins.
Okay, I thought there was 500 catch basins,
think
and I
there's
thought there
something-
was 900 structures.
Oh, there could be. Wow. Because there are a lot of catch basins that just
Daylight,
discharge.
yeah.
So that's a good point. So my question to you, Adam, was it hasn't been more than 25% done in 5 years? Was that?
I think that was what he said, as far as street sweeping, because they haven't
At
had
that point or total?
total, because they haven't had crews, they haven't had
So-
equipment that was functional. It's been a variety of different things.
So in the last 4 years, statistically, everybody's street got swept once,
Theoretically.
statistically?
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's kind of sad.
Well, I know they swept Kilburn and Goodrich, and I've never seen that happen in,
They're gonna have to
8
start
years.
sweeping Page Street after every time it rains, and Flat Hill.
because you could actually see the half-inch of edge from where they swept, from the organic material that had built up and crept onto the pavement.
Yeah, it's amazing what maintenance will do for you. Okay, so that was stormwater.
Yep.
We don't, MRPC,
MRPC, we did not meet since the last meeting.
okay?
MJTC, we met on the 10th. Mostly, they were saying they were reviewing comments, but nothing really new. They were talking about basically cost changes in ongoing projects in Fitchburg and Leominster. Things are getting more expensive or they're lowering, so they're trying to figure out their budgetary procedures for going forward. They also said they had updates on the Montechusett region map. I guess people had commented that there were some legibility issues on the website and there were some broken links, and so they were working on fixing those. And they also had a few different grant opportunities open. I don't know if Lunenburg was looking into any of them, but mostly safer streets, safer road signs, things like that. Grants are available for that. And then I had they talked about the nomination and application form. So it still has Todd Dwyer on
Yes.
it, and it still has you on there as a representative. So I don't know if they said they were sending
They
the
send it to
nomination.
me, yeah.
Perfect.
So we're gonna have to reorganize, which
Right.
we should have done this evening, and I neglected to put it on. So at the next meeting, we'll reorganize, and I'll fill out and send that back to them.
Perfect. And that's it for MJTC.
Excellent. And that rounds out our committee reports, which brings us to director's item, site plan approval modification decision.
I don't have anything for this, only because our new building commissioner started today.
Okay.
He is awesome and energetic, and he hit the ground running today and has done a bevy of inspections and is ready to attack the town.
Excellent. Excellent. So that brings us to meeting schedule. 6 PM, all board meetings are held at Town Hall unless otherwise indicated. Our next meetings are June 12th and June 26th. So I'm assuming that the 15th date was in July? Is that what you said?
Yes, and no, it's June 15th. It
So
will-
we're going to be meeting the 12th and the 15th?
Correct.
Okay, so that should be on, well,
It will be on for the next one. I haven't confirmed the room yet, but,
that's fine.
and the board is not obligated to be, it's not a board meeting, it's a kickoff meeting. I would expect that all of my lovely and involved board members would be there.
Sure, was it going to be like a buffet and like party kind of thing?
Wish.
Will we be expected to have our member of the board assigned by then?
That would be ideal.
So that means,
As part of your reorganization, that would be done.
okay, great.
So we committed the charge for the committee, so
Correct.
yeah, so it's eligible to be filled, since it's not on the agenda. It could have been on the agenda for tonight, right?
Correct.
Could have, so,
I mean, I could, yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I didn't want you to feel like it was, do it now.
even though we did. A little bit. Which is fine.
Oh, I wanted that with the charge, not with the member.
There you go, there you go. So we have ongoing items. Do we have anything to update on in?
We don't. We're moving slowly on all of them. Pondview is still at hack. I think they expect a status conference sometime in July.
Views at HAC, a status conference in July. What does that mean for us? What does that mean in general?
It means that they're on a big old timeout. So the zoning board and the applicant signed a memorandum of understanding to go to the Housing Advisory Committee to litigate the water and sewer issue. So HAC, which is the Housing Advisory Committee, will weigh in on the legal arguments from the applicant and from the town and water district on the ability of the zoning board to create new, boundaries within the individual districts. And based on that outcome, there are certain timelines that were agreed to for completing the project review. I would expect that whomever is victorious at HAC will see the other party make an appeal to the appellate court, or to the appeals court, which would then go to the appellate court, which would then go to Superior Court, to the appellate court, and then probably to the SJC. So this, we could strap in for a couple of years and ride this. I don't know. That would be my interpretation of how that ends up going.
Okay. Very good. Ongoing items, Lunenburg Municipal Buildings. So the old primary is
Gone.
Is it gone? Are they finished? Is the fence down?
I don't know if the fence is down. And I don't know if the fence will stay up while they seed and stabilize,
Okay.
but I was out there Wednesday with the consultants for the master plan. The fence was up and the area was graded and loamed.
Oh, okay. I haven't driven by.
I don't know if there was seed down yet. I don't know if they're gonna seed, if they're gonna hydro seed, if they're gonna wait until fall
Okay.
and watch it get crabby over the summer.
And then also I heard something about construction starting on the L&M,
The gas station?
which is a municipal building now.
Yes.
Right?
Of sorts. Yeah, they're gonna take the canopy down and the tanks out. And EPA is paying for the remediation.
Did they start taking that down already?
I think they may.
Yes, I feel like I saw that the other day. but-
If they haven't, they're starting like this week.
Okay. Well, Mr. Wilsmer, you've been fairly quiet. I don't think there's been much need for input, but do you have anything that you'd like to add on any of the committee reports or the ongoing items or anything?
No, just taking in what's going on in the town at the moment. That's about what I have right now.
Super. I just wanted to touch base with you before I moved on to public comment. And I don't think we have any more now than we did at the beginning.
We do not.
So I'll move on to board comment or concerns.
None.
No? Mr. Wilsmer, last chance.
No, I'm all set.
Okay, then, barring anything else, I guess I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion on adjourning? By roll call vote, all in favor, Mr. Wilsmer?
Aye.
Mr. Brenner?
Aye.
Mrs. Reed?
Aye.
And I for myself, thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.